Then I have to find my.
Okay, it's live. Good.
What is it?
This is recording, and then this is good. Starting.
But is this on Telegram?
Yeah.
But how can I see who are the chats on here?
Read off of here.
No, the chat's on here.
Just read off Instagram, Bruno.
No, but I know. But how do I find the chats on here? Can't unless you have on the other one. Yeah, it's not on here. Yeah, you can't. But it's live, right?
Yeah, it's live.
Okay.
And then you're gonna have people in here too.
Huh?
You'll have comments on here as well.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Good morning. Good evening. Good morning over here on this side of the world, and good evening on the other side of the world. And actually, I had some help today to get this together, so that's why it's not so crazy. But of course, I couldn't find my glasses. Anyway, what's that? January 21st for us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So January 21st for us, and I guess for everyone else, it's January 20th. And so I just want to say the usual things that to start out this show is a couple weeks ago I did a little video on a New Year's resolution, the only one you need to make. So I think it's finally come out. So check it out. It's important. It's an important thing with our overall health, but it's the only one we need to make. And then all the other New Year's resolutions that we know we need to make, we'll be able to make them. Okay. The other one is we did a webinar with Darren, who's our kinesiologist. That should be available now, and that's really well worth watching, because just it's very science-based, but it's some simple movements you can do 10 minutes a few times a day and really increase. Actually, it's almost like not almost, it is an immune enhancer, big time. I mean, for example, 70 seconds of stair climbing, 70 seconds will double the activity of your natural killer cells. And that's a big deal, because the natural killer cells are the ones we need with CFCs. So, I mean, we need T cells, we need all the other cells, but this is really important. So the movement is really extremely important. Okay. And then finally, you've heard me talk about Dr. Emma Abramayan, who's the biological dentist in California. She's, unfortunately, she's just in California because she's really incredibly amazing. So, but that's where I go, and that's where I would go, and that's where I would recommend anyone to go. Anyway, she and I did a podcast. What is it? Was it a podcast? What is it? Yeah, I guess I don't know I don't know the difference between them all. On just an introduction to biological dentistry. What is it? What does it encompass? How far does it go? Are we just talking about teeth? What else are we talking about? Because we're talking about the head. There's a lot of stuff. So it's and it all has to do with the connection to the spine, which has to do with everything, right? So it's pretty important. Yeah. And it's completely overlooked in medicine. In fact, we don't study it as doctors. Anyway, so those three are out. So those are, watch those. They're informative. They're good. And as you know, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and at LinkedIn, those are all at Dr. Thomas Lodi, and then the Twitter X is at Dr. Thomas Lodi MD. So, and of course, the website, you just go to the website, drlodi.com and /live, and it'll take you to there. So, all right, that's that. Now, let me find my questions. So, oops. By the way, okay, so let's see who's there. Good morning there. Everyone's showing up, right? Let me see. How come I can almost see? Yeah, okay. All right. um, and by the way, all of these shows will be except for TikTok, they're immediately recorded and you can watch them you can watch it again. Because I know for some people it's really late. If you're in Europe or Africa, South Africa, it's really late. Yeah. All right, so let's look at some questions. These were I see. Great. I mean, asking the questions there. Um, that's good. And then there's some Facebook. Then we have, but yeah. All right, very good, cool. And then Instagram. All right, so we're going to try to get as many as possible. So let's start out here. This is one by Ninal. Ninal emailed this, and she says, "Hi, doctor. I'm 60 years old with post endometrial. Remember, just as a keep us all on the same, using the same language. Keep in mind that the word that has become associated with absolute fear and where you actually lose your ability you lose your ability to reason is the word they use, cancer. So we don't use that word because that's not even descriptive of what it is. And you all know from a lot of these talks that what we're talking about is cells that have successfully learned how to ferment glucose because they can't use oxygen. So it's an adaptive response. And once they get successful, then they're chronic. So it's called chronically fermenting cells. So CFCs. So that's what we're going to call them. Okay. So because we don't like the other word because it makes us feel bad. It's painful. And that pain is psychological, which affects our immune system. So it's immunosuppressive. That's an immunosuppressive word. Kind of like the word, I don't know, begins with a V. And what does it end with? I don't remember. E? Yeah, I guess so. That's how you spell it. Yeah. Anyway, so those words are immunosuppressive. You hear that? Well, I hear that and I freak out. So anyway, here's a question. I'm a 60-year-old female with post-endometrial CFCs. No radiation or chemotherapy. I have had GI issues for more than 30 years. I'm doing regular endoscopy and colonoscopy. I've been prescribed omeprazole to take on an as-needed basis. Every time I eat tomatoes or spicy food, I get reflux. What would you recommend to eliminate acid reflux or any GI issues? Thank you. All right, well, so that's a good question for everybody, actually, if you think about it. Whether you have acid reflux or not, once you get to about the age of 40, you know, of course, in our society, in our culture, where we live, we have a very, as you all really have come to learn, that the Western world has a very successful premature aging program and premature death program. So we do that. We're able to squeeze that 180, 200 years down into the 60, 70 sometimes. So anyway, as a result of that, at around the age of 40, the cells in our stomach stop producing as much hydrochloric acid. And hydrochloric acid is pretty strong. And you look at the pH, right? Remember pH of 7.0 is neutral. But our blood needs to be 7.45, 7.4, 354. So 3.5, 7.3, 7.3 to 7.4. So 3.5 to 4.5. That's perfect. Yeah. So anyway, that's alkaline. So relative to the blood, even a 7, which is neutral, would be acidic. All right. So now it's on a logarithmic scale. So just going down 1 point, brings you down, I think, 10 or 100. So we're talking about orders of 100. So anyway, the pH of our stomach acid should be about 1.5, which is, if you put your finger in that, you take the skin off your finger. All right, but that's what we need physiologically. I mean, we need it for multiple reasons. One is obviously if you eat something that has a parasite or a bacteria or some other organism in there, it'll kill it. Usually, depends. It also they're very much involved and required for the digestion of proteins and uh, also for the absorption of iron and other such metals that are called divalent. They have 2+ instead of 3+ as on their symbol. Okay, so what does that mean? So that means if iron is stored in plants as a ferric, which is Fe3, it hits the stomach, it turns it into an Fe2, which is absorbable by our divalent transporter in the duodenum. Okay, so if you want to absorb the minerals from the food, not all, excuse me, not all minerals require that, like that change, but many important ones do. So as a result, if you're not making enough stomach acid, you could actually wind up having iron deficiency, even though you could be Dracula drinking blood and you'll still have iron deficiency. So actually, no, heme blood is a little easier absorbed. Yeah. So anyway, so the answer is what they put you on, Ninel, is they put you on something called omeprazole. Omeprazole is a proton pump inhibitor. In other words, it was a proton pump. A hydrogen, which is acid, is a proton. It's a naked proton, no electron with it. And so it's a proton pump inhibitor. So in other words, it blocks the production of hydrochloric acid in our stomach because that's what you're experiencing up here, the burning. So does that work? No. I mean, it works, but is it healthy? The answer is no. It works because there's very little acid in your stomach, but that messes up everything else. That means you're now very likely to get some sort of organism in your body, easily get in. You won't be appropriately digesting your food, so you're going to lose a lot of a ton of benefit from it. Okay, so now, but is that the problem? It turns out that it's sort of paradoxical. Now remember, the stomach is designed for a pH of 1.8. It's a very thick mucosal layer, right? And it's specialized kind of tissue, so it's designed to be acidic. I mean, to be exposed to acid. So don't worry about it. If it gets a hole or something, if you can wind up with an ulcer, it's not because there was too much acid. It's because there are probably, mostly, usually, to do to microscopic organisms and or a dysbiosis. You know what a dysbiosis is. So a dysbiosis means you have the wrong percentage of organisms, microorganisms in your gut. You have too much of this and not enough of this, and that's how it is, right? So, so it turns out that people that are starting to lose the stomach acid because they're getting 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, so they don't have as much, they wind up getting an inflamed and or thinned lining to their stomach, and it's called atrophic gastritis, which means atrophic means you lost some tissue, and gastritis means inflammation. And an inflamed mucosal no longer can protect itself, okay, because it's not producing enough mucus and stuff like that keeps it there, that protects it. So it's no longer protective. So it's actually too little acid. And those are the people that are most sensitive. The people that are making a lot of acid actually have really strong stomachs, which is the way our stomachs were designed. Okay, so it's kind of the opposite of the way we've been told. Oh my God, you mean it's the opposite? Just like everything else we've learned is the opposite? It turns out to be true. Yeah, it's the opposite. So what do you do? Well, in the old days, what they would do was they take apple cider vinegar. People would drink that before a meal, and that would help. Or you'd have to drink two. But apple cider vinegar only has a pH of around 2. or even sometimes a little bit higher. So it's not quite what we need. So they came out with something called betaine hydrochloric acid. Now, betaine hydrochloric acid used to be an over-the-counter drug. You went into there and you went into a drugstore, a pharmacy, and you could get it like that, right? Betaine hydrochloric acid, and you take it like 10, 15 minutes before a meal. And then your stomach's nice and acidic. You might have now. Well, we'll talk about how much you should take in a minute, but um, then for our benefit, for our safety, for I'm just always so in awe of how the federal government is so concerned about our safety. They went and they checked and they said, you know what? I don't know about this betaine hydrochloric acid. I don't think there's enough evidence to classify it under what they call generally recognized as safe and effective. I mean, like chemotherapy, right? Which is recognized as safe and effective. But this was not, so they took it off that. So now you can get it as supplements, fortunately. And you can get it anywhere. Betaine, betaine, hydrochloric acid. All right, so what do? So if you start with one pill, okay, because you got to work your way up and find out how much you need, and you've got to get the amount that you need. All right, so like if you need 2,400 milligrams and you're only getting 1,200, it's not doing any good because you're still getting the same. You're not benefiting. So anyway, you have to find the right dosage. So you eat one, and then eat your meal. And if everything's okay, it's about the same as it was, it hasn't changed, then you try that for maybe one more day, but then you can go up to two. And then you can try that if you're still having pain, then up to 3, 4. You keep going because they're about 650 milligrams about. And so you might wind up taking 4 or 5, right? Now, um, the average the average amount that people need, depending on their I guess their age and their health, is anywhere from 3,500 to 4,500 milligrams per meal. But you got to find the right amount. So you keep taking it, and until you get to the point where taking it actually causes a little discomfort, like a little burning, because that means you got a little too much. So you found your dose. It's one less. And so once you find that dose, you can take it. It's really important. So if you've got iron deficiency anemia, and it's not from bleeding, and it's not from the cells bursting for some reason, then it's due to the inability to produce red blood cells. All right, so that happens. Anyway, so that's it. Very, very important, the betaine hydrochloric acid. However, in the meantime, while you've got the burning, if you can get some deglycerated licorice, which is licorice without the licorice taste, and you can chew it. You can get but it'll quickly put out the fire, and it's what it does actually is it increases the mucus layer produced by the stomach and the esophagus. So it actually enhances your normal physiology. It's deglycerated licorice. Yeah, I mean, if you like the taste of licorice, you could just eat the regular kind. But anyway, and then the other one is bitters. Our grandparents, my grandparents, maybe not your grandparents, depends how young you are, but like grandparents always used to talk about bitters. And in fact, people that go out to drink cocktails and other aperitifs know that they mix it with bitters. And why would they mix it with bitters, right? Who'd volunteer to eat something bitter? Well, it turns out that bitters have a very important function in our physiology. So bitter, we have 4 receptors on our tongue, 4 types of receptors. There's a controversy of 5. Salt, sweet, bitter, and salt. What's the other one? I forgot the other one. Oh, bitter, salt, sweet, and forgot. And then there's a fifth one they're adding. It's called savory. Anyway, when the bitter taste buds are stimulated, they in turn stimulate lots of saliva secretion. So you start getting more saliva, and that saliva helps you digest it. So if you're drinking that aperitif before a meal, before dinner, or a cocktail, whatever, before dinner, and you're not eating, you might not have a lot of saliva. So the bitters help you get that saliva. But they also, if you're going to be you're going to be eating a meal too. It's also going to give you saliva because saliva has enzymes. It's got lipase and amylase in there. So for starch and sugar, so it's going to start the digestive process. In addition to the mechanical digestion that's going on with your chewing, the bitters help with that. And these digestive bitters also help with the production of hydrochloric acid. They stimulate your bodies to start producing hydrochloric acid as well as um, they soothe the stomach. They help it heal. They help increase that protective barrier on it. It's pretty cool. And then finally, what they do is they stimulate actually some of the gut hormones that we need. Like cholecystokinin, and there's several that it does, but including ghrelin. Now that's really interesting because ghrelin is the hormone you all know about that makes you hungry, right? And people that have a problem with eating too much is that the ghrelin is real high and the leptin is low, and they don't know when they're full. They don't know that they are full. Anyway, so the ghrelin goes down. So the ghrelin goes up. So what happens? You eat less. So or you eat what you should instead of what you would, right? That's how we are. Okay. um, and so it helps with not only the CCK, those hormones that are produced in the stomach, but those that are produced in the pancreas as well. And some of these hormones that are produced in the stomach and the pancreas, are enzymes, um, are also necessary for maintaining the whole gut's motility, the ability for things to move through it. So in terms of moving, so what this other one of the other benefits of the um, of the bitters is that they slow down gastric emptying, right? In other words, it doesn't leave the stomach as quickly and go into the duodenum. So it stays in there a little bit longer so it can get more acid and get crunched up a little bit more before it gets into there, which is really good. That also slows down, therefore, the amount of glucose, sweets going in. So they have found that people that are diabetic type 2 have even less their postprandial, which means after you eat. You have to, met doctors have to use these kind of words. It's ridiculous. But after you eat, your blood sugar is usually high, high because you've just eaten. But that decreases it. It decreases your after eating blood sugar. So it's actually good for that. And they're looking at bitters as a potential treatment um, partial treatment for diabetes type 2. Now, actually, diabetes type 2 is really simple, really simple. If you want to get rid of it, like in 2 weeks, if you're interested, 100% raw and no fruits during the time, 100% raw, uncooked food. And then if you go, well, I'm gonna have some cooked food. Okay, okay, just don't cook any starches. Don't cook any potatoes. No potatoes, no rice, no pasta, no bread. None of the starches, because starches are glucose. Period. Um, but just eat vegetable. If just eat vegetables, and you could even eat the fruit. The fruit's not going to be, especially fruit is like 40-50% fructose, which doesn't stimulate insulin. So, um, but anyway, it'll be gone. What's his name? Doctor. Oh, what's his name? I love him. He's a fantastic guy. He used to be down in Patagonia, Arizona. Anyway, my brain is phew. Um, brilliant, brilliant guy. But anyway, he did a movie on that where they took diabetic type 2 from all over the country and brought them together and put them on a raw food diet for like, was it 2 weeks or 4 weeks? But anyway, it was like they were all better. It was gone. Right. And I've had that experience with many, many people that I've worked with, and many of my students that have come. All right. Um, so, so these bitters so they increase your hydrochloric acid, they increase your pancreatic enzyme production, they increase the protective layer, and they and also help with bile secretion because you need bile to digest the fats. So it's pretty cool. And they do one other great thing. Between your esophagus and your stomach is a sphincter, okay? And so normally acid doesn't go back up. But if that so this actually the digestive bitters actually help keep that closed. All right, so it does many, many things, just like that's what it was designed for, right? So what is it? What is it? Well, it's usually like it's in a base of they put it like a base of alcohol or a base of what what is another base? I don't know. Yeah. They put it in the base of that, and um they what is that other called? Huh. Vinegar, that's it. So they put it either a base of alcohol or vinegar, and then they use certain herbs and roots like burdock, dandelion, bitter melon, wormwood. They're bitter, but that's pretty much the standard fundamental uh, recipe for these bitters. Oh, by the way, what's interesting is we not only have bitter receptors in our taste buds, we have bitter receptors all inside of our digestive tract because it require that will stimulate in turn the proper enzymes and gut hormones we were talking about. Yeah. So anyway, there's been studies to figure out is this true. So in there's a good article in the professional journal called Nutrients. I think it was 2021, and they found out that there's like three, the ghrelin, cholecystokinin, and something else called glucagon. Um, Anyway, one of the glucagon was that one of the glucagon hormones that it improved them. It actually made them better. It decreased the ghrelin and increased the others, which was pretty nice. All right, and it's so that all wound up slowing down the gastric emptying. Okay. So anyway, and these the bitter receptors are actually in the GI tract. We have what are called endocrine um, cells, and that's the ones that produce it, right? So in the end, you wind up decreasing the amount of energy and whatever you're eating. You're decreasing the amount because you're not going through the stomach so quickly, right? And you're increasing certain enzymes, decreasing other enzymes. So the bottom line is you wind up getting much more efficient digestion. All right. Um, and that's going to help you through the part where it's still burning. But remember, it's not due to a lack of acid. So by taking these proton and pump inhibitors, which are big sales, do you know in the hospital when a doctor writes the admission orders, everybody gets put on that. Everybody's told if your temperature gets above whatever number they have now, I don't know, 98, 99 or something like that. Give them acetaminophen, Tylenol, right? Paracetamol, whatever. I mean, it's like, it's the opposite of a healing place, right? Because you need fever, right? We know we need fever. We've talked about it many times. That's how we stimulate our immune system. That's how our immune system wakes up and realizes it's time to go to work. So you go into the hospital and they say, no, no, we don't want that to happen. We want to keep you sick as long as possible. They don't think that, but they do. They do. Okay. Anyway, it's madness. It's madness. So these proton pump inhibitors are part of the general admitting orders of a doctor. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And like Tylenol or whatever. So so that's the answer to that question. Let's see. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to mention one other thing. Other bitter foods would include the brassicas, and the brassicas like broccoli and cauliflower and stuff like that. And then there's bok choy and arugula and stuff. But you might find that they're a little bitter. They're not hugely bitter, but they're a little bitter. So it has to do with the glucosinolates, and then also in plants there are pigments. There's a whole class of compounds called polyphenols, which are which are flavonoids. It's just names that they have, but basically there's all kind like and in that are things like quercetin and all the stuff that fisetin. A lot of the things that we know of that are really good for you are happen to be in those plants, and you know what they're called? They're because only plants make them, right? So the animals don't make them, so they're called phytonutrients. So a phyto means from the plant, which means that, well, I can get everything I need from eating a dead animal. Oh, yeah? Well, so if you find any, my point is, if you happen to find any, flavonoids or glucosinolates or anything like that in an animal, it's because the animal had eaten the plant. So it all comes from plants, okay? It's a phytonutrient, okay? But someone was telling me the other day, you don't need to eat plants. I used to like, I don't even know how to answer that. I don't even know how, that's not even like I mean, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, um, so here's another question. This is Candace. I am wondering how to get off the biological medicine Atevio for ulcerative colitis. I haven't been able to get ulcerative colitis under control without medicine or with any diet changes. I have recently started the probiotic Visbiome to get my gut health better because I was told that I have Sjogren's and hyperthyroidism as well. So once I learned about the thyroid issue, I was told to get my gut healthier. But I do not want to be on medicine forever. Your help is much appreciated. Okay, Candace. So. Anyway, first of all, the same person told you have Sjogren's and hyperthyroidism. So if you have hyperthyroidism, you usually know. You're usually like your heart's beating fast, and I don't know, your eyes are bulging, or you don't have to be at that extreme, but you have you have a hyperdynamic cardiovascular system. So you usually know. It's not like hypothyroidism, low thyroid. You might not know it for a long time because it's insidious. But this the hyper is the opposite. It's like yeah, or anxious all the time. Anyway, so that's interesting that you were told that, and then but I don't know if it's true. I mean, because you listen and don't do what they say, because they're going to say, well, we better just give you some radioactive iodine. Yeah, right. Okay. And of course, it'll destroy all of your thyroid, and then you're going to have to take thyroid medicine the rest of your life because you won't have a thyroid. That makes really good sense, doesn't it? I have a question, Doc. Why? Why did it happen? In fact, what is it that happened, Doc? We don't talk about that. Okay, this is what we do. You understand? We think about why. It's not a question. You can't ask these questions. It's illegal. It's an illegal question in hospitals and doctors. Okay, so anyway, um, the so if you've got Sjogren's, and Sjogren's is just now all of these are that's like autoimmune conditions, supposedly autoimmune conditions. Autoimmune meaning auto, autoimmune. So the immune system is attacking the body, right? And why is that happening? Because God made many mistakes, and that was just one of them. He gave us a really not such a smart immune system, so it gets us confused with rabbits. So anyway, uh, no, no, the opposite's the truth. Okay, I was being facetious, please. The opposite's the truth. The immune system and everything else in biology is precise and can only do one thing. What is that? That which is necessary. That's all it can to do anything else. Okay. So if it's doing something, it's doing it out of necessity. So if the immune system is going crazy or something, it's doing because it senses, sees things that we can't see. I mean, we only have a visible spectrum, right, in terms of vision, right? But whereas other animals can see things in above and below the spectrum that we can. The same with auditory, we can only hear within a certain range. Whereas your dog's like hearing stuff that you don't, your cat's hearing stuff. So okay, so anyway, and also our ability to detect whether or not something's stimulating our immune system is what we're not very good at that, right? And if we can't find anything causing it, we're saying, aha, it's autoimmune. Anyway, so all it is it's a constellation of symptoms that they call. This is Sjogren's. This is systemic lupus erythematosus lupus. This is rheumatoid arthritis, and then we have autoimmune Graves disease and Hashimoto. No, there's something that we don't know about that is being sensed by the immune system and it's doing its job. Okay. We just haven't found what it is because we're not even asking. We don't need to find out why. We just need to pa, 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 pa. Remember, this is a military approach. I think they should, all medical schools should have maybe 2 to 4 years of training in the Army and the Marines first. Um, um, so anyway, but your situation with ulcerative colitis now, if you guys don't know what it is, and that does have a predilection, right? Long-term chronic ulcerative colitis can become colon CFCs. We all know that, right? We've heard of that before. Gosh, I can almost see. Um, so anyway, it's a terrible condition. It's a lot of mucousy stools, bloody stools, painful stools, cramping, frequently going. It really can mess up your life, and um, you know, it's just no fun at all. And when they look in with a colonoscope, they see ulcers, and it's just a mess. And guess what? It turns out that it's due to what? The same thing that a lot of conditions are due to, and that is a dysbiosis. You don't have the right bacteria in there. And the research from 2017, 2018, 2019, every year they're able to show that if they did fecal implants from people that were healthy, that had a healthy gut, they had a good percentage, like 35%, 40% of the people got completely better. But you know what? Weird, 8%, about 10% who got nothing. It was a placebo thing. So again, here, how powerful is the mind? How powerful? Okay. So the mind, you know, just by knowing that you're taking something, if you think, I just know this is going to work, and it'll work. Again, that's that thing, as we often go back to that over and over repeatedly, and that is called faith. Faith is when you know what's going to happen before it happens. No, not believe. No. So if you know something's going to happen, it happens. Um, Otherwise, you don't know it, then you just believe it. But if you know it, you know it. And so that, I mean, that's how, placebo works, because the person really, and that's also why being kind and supportive of someone, if they've got a dangerous situation going on with their health, so let them know that you can be fine. You can be fine. Let them know that, you know. Anyway, um, the fecal transplant is done by either what they do is they clean it, they wash it, they strain it, they try to get down to just the bacteria, so you're not getting all the other stuff. All right, and they can put it in through colonoscopy, they can put it in through an enema, they can put it in through an NG tube down into your stomach like that, or they can put it into capsules, and you can swallow the capsule, and it won't open up until it gets down. But they work a lot. And we talked about this before, I think several times, about the fact that you could even, they're finding now that there are specific ratios of different bacteria and other organisms, archaea and funguses in our gut, our microbiome, our microbiota. There are certain species, percentages of them. Uh, there's a certain ratio that's off of health. Healthy, let's say healthy has this specific ratio. So anything that's off, it's not. It's got too much of not enough of this and too much of that. So it's kind of not balanced. That it would be called a dysbiosis. Well, they're finding the similar dysbioses in different people with different kinds of CFCs. So breast CFCs have a certain dysbiosis. Colon CFCs, brain CFCs. It's interesting. And so the idea, the potential there is fecal implants to help with that therapeutically, because that's how important these guys are, these microorganisms. And remember, these microorganisms are what do everything that's needed for life to exist and continue. Everything. If you study them, it's incredible. Macroscopic life, what we are, and frogs and horses, and exist in the context of microorganisms. Without them, there is no us, because they are what is how nitrogen gets into, nitrogen's in the air, right? 70% of the air is nitrogen, right? How do we get that uh, into a chemical called an amino acid? How do I do that? Microorganism. Take that out, turn it into ammonia, and ammonia gets picked up and then turns it into an amino acid. And so plants make all the amino acids because they've got these guys living on their roots. Yeah, it's very mind-blowing. And they recycle everything, all the essential elements that run the world: sulfur, copper. I mean, it's all required by them, and then they're inside of us, and they help us digest. They make sure our blood clots right. They keep our immunity going. They keep us in a good mood or a bad mood. I mean, whoa, there's no part of our being, and they're all over, everywhere. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. You don't wash them off. You don't want to wash them off. You want to be this whole idea of germ free, because somehow, well, we know, not somehow, we know how. We know it had to do with a certain oil guy in the 19th century in America, JDR, and then he had sons, and anyway, so that family there, who helped bring about what we're experiencing today. Public health, how important public health is, right? And for your safety, we're going to limit you to walking no more than 3 feet a day and sitting down for your safety. Anyway, so the around that time, they came up with the germ theory. And the theory is that these microorganisms, which are how we live. I mean, like I said, they're the context of life. They produce all the things we need, and they assist in every way. Um, they became bad guys, and the bad guys you call germs, right? So if it's a good bacteria, you're not gonna call it a germ, right? It's a bad bacteria, you call it a germ. Okay, so it's kind of like the word dirt. The word dirt is a pretty pejorative term for earth. If I've got a handful of earth and I say I have a handful of dirt, it sounds, dirt's negative, pejorative. Earth is not, right? And of course, what do you tell your children if they come in and they have some earth on their pants? Oh, that's disgusting. You gotta take that off. We gotta change it. What if you get some earth on your food? Oh my God. What a horrible condition for it. What a horrible thing to happen to an earthling. You know, you realize how insane we are. Yeah, we're insane. So, um, um, yeah. Okay. So now here's another question from Sally. And she says, according to the doctor's data, heavy metal testing, I have 31 micrograms per gram level of platinum after 6 rounds of cisplatin 2 years ago. However, no one is telling me how to get rid of the platinum specifically. What would you suggest? All right. Well, yeah, you're right. Um, it's estimated that around 50% of people with CFCs are getting platinum drugs. The platinum, like cisplatin, um, uh, carboplatin, oxaliplatin, right? So those are used for colon, breast, pancreas, and so buff and ovary, and yeah, they're used a lot, and they cause, as we all know, if anybody's had them, you wind up getting what's called the peripheral neuropathy, where you get numb feet or numb hands, and it can be quite disturbing. It's difficult to walk. Uh, can't feel it. It's just horrible, you know. And I don't know if you know how it is when your hand falls asleep, like you're relying on it like this. All right, and it kind of feels like it's almost not yours, and it's tingly and all that. That's what it's like. So they call that a side effect. It's not on the side of anything. It's right in the middle of my hand. So anyway, so like 50% of people with CFCs are getting platinum, so we're going to see a lot of this. Well, okay, we've got to grab it. We've got to get rid of it. Now, so the Greek word for crab or claw is chyle. So they came up with a word called chelation, and you all know about chelation. There are different chelating elements, and it should be part of any good protocol for CFCs. Um, what are we chelating? Well, platinum's one of them, but we were also exposed to nickel, cadmium, uh, uh, what's that? Tungsten, uranium, lead, mercury. I mean, all of these things, which are like they're really really bad news, because in our enzymes, remember we have like 36 septillion chemical reactions going on every second, right? Every second. Okay, so now if you realize that every one of those requires an enzyme to for that reaction to happen, and how quickly are those reactions happening? 800,000 times per second. 1.5 million times per second. What? Yeah, that's how fast it's happening. But I want you to always remember this. All this amazing, incredible, incomprehensible stuff is random. It's just random. It just came about. There's no intelligence that has designed this universe. It's just random. Anyway, but they all require an enzyme, and all enzymes require a mineral associated with it. So it might be zinc, it might be selenium, uh, copper, any of that. So magnesium, right? And those, and because you can think of the minerals as being kind of like the batteries of the of the enzyme system. So this is what happens um, when you got lead or mercury or any of these what you call heavy metals. Is that they actually have a stronger attraction, chemical attraction. So let's say zinc is in there doing its job as part of an enzyme system, and the lead comes by, it just quickly displaces it. So wherever there was a zinc, there's now a lead. Now it's not working. Same with whatever. Then if you get uranium and all of them. So now they have these agents that are you can take that are called chelators, and there are several kinds. And the way they work is that they have an affinity for metals, and they have an affinity hierarchy. So in other words, they they like this, but then they like this more, and they like lead more, and they like mercury even more, and they like no. So as the chelating agent is going through the blood, it'll grab calcium, okay, and then it's going along, and then it sees a lead, it goes, oh, forget that, and grabs the lead, and then stuff like that. Um, so that's why they'll say, well, DMPS um, is it's good for mercury. Well, because it likes mercury a lot. So does DMSA. They like mercury a lot. DMSA you can take orally. In fact, everyone so you can get a doctor who's um, awake. Tell me you want some DMSA, like 500 milligrams at night before sleep, 2 to 3 times a week, yeah, 2 to 3 times, just 2 to 3 times nights a week. Go to sleep, wake up in the morning, you pee it out. You pee out all these minerals. I mean, all these heavy metals. Now, oh, but doesn't it grab some of the good stuff? It certainly does. So you got to make sure you replenish it. So when we do chelation therapy, we're going to give you a mineral drip afterwards with the good guys, selenium and zinc and all the stuff you need, right? Magnesium, calcium, molybdenum, manganese, all those good guys. But you can get that in the store too. But and you also get it from eating healthy food. Oh my gosh, an incredible concept. So now, but EDTA, ethylene diamine tetracetic acid. I don't know if you've heard of that. EDTA. But anyway, ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. So tetra is four. So there, and acetic acid. So it's got a negative charge, right? The four acetates, right? And here's metal with a positive, so it grabs it like a claw, chele, takes it out. So EDTA is very good. EDTA does a lot of other things, but it's really important because we've all got heavy metals, and now it's well known. Everyone knows, except most of the people who are um, asleep. They look like they're awake. Like, I mean, they show up at work, they talk, but I mean, when you talk to them for a minute or two, you find out they're really not awake, and then you don't want to disturb them, so you let them go back to sleep and you leave. But other than that, but most people that are awake know that there are nanoparticles of aluminum, nanoparticles of some of the other nasty metals that are somehow winding up in our food and winding up in our what is it in uh, our drinks, our food, and we're breathing it in the air. How's it getting here? How a nanoparticle? That means it must have been shriveled, cut up really. How would that happen? I don't know. I don't know. You think it has anything to do with those clouds up there, those big vertical clouds that don't go away? Could be that. I don't know. We don't know, right? And as long as we keep saying we don't know, could be, as long as we keep saying that, and we're supporting it, and we're saying it because why? Not you and I, but the people that are saying that are saying why? To keep the peace. Oh, don't think you're going to have peace in a few months. Um, yeah, politically correct. Why? Anyway, it's time to shout at the rooftops about what's going on. We're being poisoned from every angle. So we've got all these heavy metals. So that's why it's good for all of us to do some sort of chelation. The other one is you can find it in chlorella, you can find it in spirulina. There are, a lot of these. I mean, vitamin C is a chelator. Uh, in fact, if anyone's ever been getting a vitamin C IV and they start shaking, and it's not because you're cold, it's because they didn't put a calcium or enough calcium in the bag, because vitamin C it's a transient chelator of calcium, can take the calcium out of circulation. It's really easy. You don't need a blanket and a heater. You just need to put another amp of calcium gluconate or calcium chloride into the IV bag, not into the arm, into the bag, and then it goes away very quickly. It's just a hypocalcemic reaction. Okay, here's Monica. Um, this My grandmother has CHF, congestive heart failure, and stage 3 kidney failure, and we found out she has lung CFCs about 3 months ago when she went to the hospital for fluid in her lungs. We started juicing and giving her SEAC almost 2 weeks in. She was back in the hospital, they had fluid drained, and her potassium was really high. And it happened twice, even after giving her juice on one day. So, but she got one dose before having to go back to the hospital again and had high potassium. So even the tea. Been almost 2 weeks and we haven't tried again. Is there another alternative? Okay, so what you're doing is you're doing the right thing. You want to give her juice. Now, if she's got stage 3 kidney failure, she's not able to get rid of to filter with the kidney filters. And one of the most telltale signs of results of the kidneys not working is your potassium doesn't get excreted and you don't pee it out and it goes high. And the problem with potassium is that if you get too much, your heart stops and your muscles are weak. And if you don't have enough, your heart does the opposite. So you got to have it in the right amount. So that's a problem. Now, so in her condition, if she's not getting dialysis, if she's getting dialysis, then she could be drinking the juice, the day the day of the dialysis. But anyway, but the other thing, what I would say is we still need to eat healthy food. So we still need to eat vegetables. So she can still eat the vegetables, and just not combine. Because you remember a liter of juice, a quart of juice is like a big handful of. I mean, big. Almost couldn't eat that much. Like a whole salad won't even give you a liter. So you'd have to eat a lot. So you're getting a lot. That's one of the purposes of it. So people that have healthy kidneys, it's a very highly nutritious. It's an excellent way of getting a lot of nutrition with a lot of volume of fluid to clean out your interstitial fluid, so that you're basically, again, like cleaning out the water in the aquarium. So that's very important. It's highly nutritious. However, if you don't have kidneys, that's a problem. So now she still has to get this food. So let's let her eat. So she can eat, chew, swallow like that. Then she won't be getting the vast amounts of it. She'll be getting just normal amounts, and that, yeah. But stage 3 kidney problems. Now I don't know how that happened. I don't know if she has diabetes or she was exposed to something. Usually, I think most often in our society, it's due to either diabetes or some kind of drug that the person was taking, or they got exposed to a chemical like Um, yeah, and a lot of drugs that are not cleared by the liver are cleared by the kidney, and they put a strain on the kidney. So I'm not sure how she got that. I'm not sure if we could how we could reverse it. If I knew more about her, we could, we would do that. Let me see. So ow. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying, Monica, is that so she's the juice obviously is giving her too much potassium. All right, and for those of you who have to take potassium pills because you're probably on a diuretic called Lasix or Bumex or something like that. They're called loop diuretics, and they make you pee a lot, but they make you pee out all your potassium. Well, you don't always need to take so many pills. You could just drink a lot. You could do some juicing. You can see. Here's a lady that can't drink juice because it gets too much potassium. She can't get rid of the potassium. You see, so there's another way to look at that whole situation, not necessarily a bad thing. So, and she's got CHF, congestive heart failure. So, and the kidney. So, yeah. So well, first of all, I don't know if she's overweight. She needs to go on a fast to cleanse. And if she can't drink the juices, then let's do water fasting. Water fasting is miraculous. I mean, it cleans up the body. It does. And then she's got to be able, you got to talk, she's got to want to do it. You can't lock her in a room and not let her eat, just give her water. But you've got to, someone's got to want to do it. And they should be reading about it, and they should understand it and understand the physiological changes that the body goes through. But it'll help with anything: arthritis, gastritis, obesity, of course, Alzheimer's, and of course CFCs, big time. It can get rid of CFCs, get rid of plaques in the artery. It improves everything, cardiac function, improves everything. Yeah, it's just like it's pretty amazing. So she could do that, and then I don't know her nutritional status. I mean, I don't know anything about her. I'm just giving you some ideas. But again, she needs to eat the vegetables. She's not going to eat as many, but she still needs to get all the phytonutrients and all the food, all the amino acids she needs, carbs she needs, all the chelated minerals and vitamins and stuff, all that stuff. So okay, now let's see. Here's Donna. And okay, so I was diagnosed with non-small cell lung CFCs in 2020. I had 4 rounds of chemotherapy along with immunotherapy. The immunotherapy lasted 2 years, and that is all we were allowed in the UK. I had CT scans from thorax to pelvis. All treatment stopped in 2022. Scans continued every 3 months. Then in August 2023, they said lung CFCs was growing again. The non-small cell. So I'm back to chemo in November, which gave me a terrible cough. Whilst coughing, I had a terrible pain in my head. So they decided to finally scan my head, only to find out that it had metastasized to my brain. The chemo in November made me very unwell. Therefore, they changed it. Apparently, it is shrinking my lung and lymph nodes. No radiotherapy yet. I need and would like to carry on with alternatives. I already take lots of supplements, and I started fenbendazole and apricot kernels. I wonder if there's anything else I can do. Whoa, Donna, anything else you can do? A lot. First step in healing is to clean. You clean out because you've got to remove whatever could potentially have caused the situation in the first place. So you got to clean. And that involves juicing, if you have good kidneys, juicing, drinking lots of juice or doing a fast, colon hydrotherapy, lymphatic therapy, movement, keep moving around all day. You got to get vigorous movement. Go for a short run as fast as you can for 30 seconds and then stop for 3 minutes and then run as fast as you can for 30 seconds and then stop. Do this about 5 times. Fantastic. Climb a couple stairs. Every 90 minutes, do this kind of stuff. But anyway, you can't always do that, but as fast as you can. When I say run as fast as you can, if as fast as you can, it's just like this. For you, that's exertion. You don't have to compare yourself with someone else who's running faster. It doesn't matter. That's not the speed. It's as fast as you can. It's your exertion, not someone else's exertion. So now the thing about chemotherapy is that it causes metastasis. And I'm not making that up. I'm not making that up. Excuse me 1 second. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'll call you back.
Anyway, I still got Instagram on. I've still got everything. So anyway, that the streaming stopped. I don't know at what point. Excuse me, everyone.
It's not on YouTube or anything. Let me check.
Yeah, it's gonna stop. It's not cool.
It's got you live on Facebook. You're live on Facebook.
Why?
Also YouTube, you're live still.
I don't know. I didn't want to be live there.
Yeah, you're on. You're live still.
Okay, so what does this mean here? It stopped. What does this mean? It says it's.
Let me see. Yeah, it's live. You're good.
Wow. So this other thing is something else, huh? Wow. All right. Well, let's go back. I don't want to watch that because it looks like. All right. So let's go back here. Where were we? Now, okay. So, Donna, chemotherapy. There are many articles out. I have. I'm going to be putting them on our website out here when we open up. But for example, the ones that the big ones that they the gemcitabine, which is Gemzar, the platins, taxanes, cyclophosphamide, all of them, they stimulate the metastatic process. And so even these articles conclude, and I'm not making it up. If I could share the screen, I would show you that they reduce the primary tumor, but they ensure that the metastases are going to be successful. Now, that doesn't mean they will be successful. You can still do what you need to do. You can avoid that. You can get rid of, you can take things to eliminate stem cells, such as ivermectin, mebendazole, vitamin C, doxycycline, in fact, doxycycline and vitamin C are considered a lethal combination. There's a study out calling them that, a synthetic lethal combination for the stem cells. And so if you're just taking those, so even after you've done a cleanse, you can still take those at lower doses to keep the stem cells from going anywhere. The other thing is, remember, stem cells are what? They're seeds, right? And a seed to grow, it needs to have soil. So you want to make sure there's no soil, or that your soil is no good. You want to make sure that when that seed lands there, it's not happy, doesn't have what it needs to grow. And what is that? That means if you have a lot of oxygen and not acidic, then it won't grow. It can't. It needs that. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, and so now you've got it in multiple places too, right? And you're getting the scans, and they just doing the scan, and then you got it in your head and all that. So, yeah, it's going to shrink. You said, yeah, apparently it's shrinking, but it's shrinking this, but then it's growing over here and all that. The problem is because remember, everyone, this is a really important concept, is that when you have CFCs and it results in a tumor, the tumor is a manifestation of a underlying systemic problem. Because if you cut it off, it's going to pop up over here or pop up over there. It's not that's not the problem. The problem's underneath. It's why is it popping up? Remember that why question that we don't ask anymore? We don't say why. And one of the things that you got to look at, and I forgot to tell this to the other person as well, is the teeth, the mouth. You have got to look at the mouth. I can't have a person come to my center anymore if they haven't had their biological dentistry taken care of. Otherwise, it is so important. It is so directly important that to do anything with someone without having taken care of that is a waste of time, money, and hope. Okay? And I'm going to go over with Dr. Emma. We're going to do another podcast. We're going to go over specifically root canals, cavitations, and gum disease, gingival. And I don't know if you know, but there's studies that show that up to 80% of systemic problems, right? Arthritis, whatever, all the different things we have are related to oral ill health, right? And a lot of that has to do again with the microorganisms that are in here, that they're connected to the GI tract. We've got nasal microbiota. They're everywhere. They're all over us. So you don't want to clean them off. You don't want to get rid of them. Yeah, you want to wash your hands. You don't want to have dirt on your hands and slimy stuff on your hands, of course. But I'm saying you don't want to be sterile. When I'm walking in the store and they want to squirt me, I said, "What are you doing, man? And what is that stuff you're squirting on me? What do you want to put on me? Do you know what it is?" They don't even know. It's just like I was at a hotel and they're spraying the stuff in the air. It smells like strawberries. I said, "What is that? Strawberry? No, what is it? What is the chemical in there?" They don't even know. They don't care. They don't think about it. They just because it smells like it. They're just like, what? How did we get this way? How did we get this way? I mean, we used to be, human beings used to be like 100 years ago, 150 years ago. We used to be like, I don't know, self-reliant and capable of living on the planet. We didn't just believe anybody that walked up and said something to us. We'd say, well, yeah, should prove it to me, and I don't know what happened to us. We lost all that. Anyway, so so you've got a lot of work to do, and you got to clean the colon. You check it the truth, because if you've got, I mean, you got to do a 3D cone beam CT. It's got to be read by someone who reads them all the time, who's a biological dentist, not a regular dentist. Okay, it's very important, because the regular dentists are necrosis, necrosis called cavitations exist. They don't even know they exist, so they're not looking for them, right? So if you're not looking for something, you're not going to find it, right? I'll give you an example. Motivation affects perception. Motivation affects perception. How so? Well, let's say you're really hungry and you're walking down the street. What do you think you're going to see? You're going to see restaurants. And let's say you are a 16-year-old boy walking down the street. You're probably going to see girls. Oh, God, I'm not sure. It depends. But anyway, so motivation affects perception. Keep that in mind. In India, they have a beautiful saying. It says, if a pickpocket meets a saint, all he sees are his pockets. And I love that. So in other words, we're going to get, so if you don't know what you're looking at, that's why the regular dentist is not going to really even look at that. And because I've had, I've had people do the CTs and they'd have it read, and then we'd have Dr. Emma confirm it, and she'd see things that they didn't see, they didn't see. She's been doing it a long time, and she knows exactly what she's looking for. Very, very important. So we got to, the head, we got to clean that out. We got to do it. We got to clean out the body. And we do that with cleansing and colonics, and it's pretty much. And then when you resume eating, whether you did a water fast or a juice cleanse, when you resume eating, you're going to give yourself the opportunity to eat real food for a change. Earth food. Should we call it earth food? Real food. Earth food. Food that the earth produces. And we'll eat that for, give it 9 months. 9 to 18 months. You can eat you've been eating for however many years you've been eating, and you want to eat for at least that much in the future. So you're going to take a little bit of time out now to save your life. And forget all the controversies. I mean, I'll explain that later on. I'm going to do webinars and stuff. Like I realize I still got to do it with food. I don't know. It's just mind blowing. But forget the controversies. There's no controversy. There's no controversy. You know why? Because whatever people are telling you, mostly it's because it justifies their lifestyle, and they don't want to have to change it. I start smoking and say, and come up with a reason why it's okay. It eases my stress. It makes I think better. I don't know, whatever. But you say to justify. All you've got to do ever, and everyone always use nature as your reference point. Forget the books. Nature, okay, and that which is natural. So imagine yourself. It's 4,000 years ago. No machines, nothing like that. And you're in a jungle because you're from around the equator. 7,000 years ago. You're in the jungle. You don't have any clothes on. What are you going to eat? I mean, what are you equipped? What did God equip you with to eat? Instinct? Smell? Taste? Hands? I think I would probably be looking for fruits, picking up fruits, tasting them. I'd find some good leaves that I could gather and stuff like that. I don't think I would even look at, I don't know, if I saw a cow, I wouldn't look at the cow and imagine that I could eat it. I wouldn't look at it and say, wow, that's looks good, and I also, if I'm walking along and there's an animal that's dead and died and there's a corpse in front of me, I also wouldn't say, well, we should maybe eat this now. So in other words, it's not instinctual. You got to learn to do this stuff. You got to get a taste for this thing, kid. You got to build up a taste. It's kind of like cigarettes and whiskey. You know what I mean? You got to build up a taste to eating corpse. Eating corpse, I'm telling you, ain't nothing like it. Well, that's true. Ain't nothing like it. But Anyway, so I don't understand the controversy. The other thing that part of that controversy is this: the Earth has produced everything that is necessary for all of the creatures out of which uh, out of the earth, which came out of the Earth. So we're all called Earthlings. Uh, yeah, we're Earthlings. You know why? Right? Uh, when you die, when you stop breathing, your body turns back to Earth. Therefore, you are an earthling. It's only going to turn back to that which it was, right? Okay. So we're earthlings. Now, um, so we're on Earth and we're eating. So everything that was necessary to eat is already there. Otherwise, we couldn't be. We wouldn't be. And then you have to look at your biological niche. Where you from, right? If you're a shark and they put you in a freshwater lake, you might not do too well. If you're a polar bear and they put you on the equator, it's going to be tough. You know, it's really good to be in the niche out of which you arose, where you have your function and all your everything you need is there. And then guess what? When all of your needs are being met, is known as health, also called optimal functioning of the organism. There's no need for the body to adapt in any way. There's nothing to adapt to. Okay? So now the point is that the food, the things that like tomatoes or strawberries or the spinach or the things I run into, they're ready to eat. I don't have to do anything to them. No creature on earth has to do anything to the food. It's ready to eat. In fact, it's perfect for us. That's why it's there. One of the reasons it's there. So I don't have to heat it up. I don't have to change it chemically. You know, heating up something is called an endothermic chemical reaction. You know, cooking is what they call cooking is a endothermic chemical reaction, meaning you're pulling the heat from the energy from the heat to break up chemical bonds, electrons. Bonds are just the way electrons react with each other. And so now you're going to change it chemically. So what comes into the kitchen in grocery bags and goes out on dinner plates, not the same chemically at all, at all. And that which is no longer natural is, what do we call it again? Artificial. Artificial. I don't understand how this is controversial. It's controversial that we would thrive on eating the food that the earth produced for us. Huh. So I don't, the only thing I can say I can attribute the controversy to is to people who are wanting to get notoriety for saying something bizarre. You know, I don't understand it. It's so hard to find the truth. Why would we spend any time making stuff up? I don't know. I don't understand. Anyway, so that's what you eat. Listen, so Donna, you eat your food. You eat real human food, okay? And you'll find out what that is. Uh, I can, I'm happy to help you. You sounds like you need some help. You need some local help wherever you live. If you let me know, yeah, right. People in cooler climates ate dead animals and fish because of the absence of plants. True, right? But that's not where we came from. What I'm saying is the point is this: our physiology and our anatomy exists because the environment out of which we arose, like the chimps and the gorillas and the orangutans, in that environment. Now you take us out of that environment, we got to survive. So yeah, people start eating animals. Um, but listen, um, you know, any argument that is in favor of eating animal corpses, that same argument would be just as good to convince someone to eat human corpses. Cannibalism. Same argument. Why not eat a human corpse? Why not eat human meat? Right? It's got everything you need. It's got it all. That's perfect muscle stuff for us, right? Cow's not quite the same as us, right? But, anyway, it violates in people something. But I gotta have my meat. Well, it ain't your meat. It's his meat. You killed him, ripped it off him, eating his muscles. So I wouldn't say that's yours. It's yours now, but you stole it. Unless, oh, wait, the animal volunteered. Yeah, that was it. The animal volunteered. In fact, what did he skin himself first, and then all you had to do was pull him out? How did it work? How did it work? Uh, yeah, I mean, I get you. I know. There are all kinds of reasons. There's a reason. There's a reason why I can't stop drinking. There's a reason why I can't stop doing crack. There's a reason why I can't stop heroin. There's a reason why I can't stop getting drunk every night. Always a reason that amounts to nothing. You know, human beings need to justify what they're doing to themselves. And they do. And so we're really good at fooling ourselves. We're really good. We're going to come up with a reason. Oh, I did it because I had a cold, or I did it because, huh? Not because you wanted to. You didn't do it because you wanted to, right? You just did it because you had a cold. Anyway, we're just not honest. We're not honest with each other, or we're not honest with ourselves. It's actually fundamental to modern civilization. Um, Truth is only spoken about on occasion. What, plants are not enough for you? Wait, what? What? Wait. Oh my God. Oh no, oh my God. Okay, you guys, listen. Diamato, who came up with the blood type book, okay? He wrote the book on it, okay? Was he a chiropractor in Arizona, I think? Anyway, because we have different blood types. Horses have, I think, 7 or 8 different blood types. Dogs have about 13 different blood types. Now let's look through the animal kingdom. You're going to find out they all have different blood types. So, do you think one horse should be eating hay and another horse should be eating uh, dead animals? Or does that only work only with us? But see, that's another reason. That's another excuse. It's another justification. Oh, I'm type O, so I can do that. Okay. The point is this: if you really do the research and you really say eating has nothing to do with blood groups, believe me, because there are lots of different blood groups. I mean, different animals, and they all eat the same thing. Okay, it's not. It didn't just happen that way with us, and none of the other creatures. Right? Okay. So whenever someone tells you something, say, okay, thanks. Now let me think about that. Let me research it and figure it out and look at it. Oh, now, what type? What type? I'd like to know. What type will allow me to drink wine? I want a wine every night. Can I? Is that type O? A? B? Hmm. Um, there's no relationship. Believe me. But don't believe me. Research it. Find out. Go research it. Find and look at all the other animals. And find out the different blood types they are, and find out if they're eating different diets. And you're going to find out the answer is no. What do I want me to say? It's the oldest which ate meat and fish. You think so? Why do you say it's the oldest? Oldest what? Who said it was the oldest? Oh, Diamato said it was the oldest. Okay. So before, at one point, there were only type O's. And where was humanity at that time? Were we in caves, or just before the cave when we were? Were we in the trees? I don't know. Do any of us really know history? Does D'Amato know? No. Can anyone explain to me why the only building, longest standing building that's been up standing, what, 4,000 years now, was built by it's called pyramids, and was built in such a way that we couldn't do it today. We cannot do it today. Cannot. What about the Great Wall at Tiwanaku, where it's almost like 400, 800-ton rocks that are shaped like this, like a jigsaw puzzle, and they're put in like this. I mean, there are all sorts of things like that. So, and also, listen, here's the other thing. When we talk about alternative medicine or a different way of looking at medicine, it's almost everything we've learned: history, archaeology. So, what history would have us believe is that we came out of the Paleolithic, right? Came out of the Paleolithic, right? Just with clubs and kind of, grunting, right? We couldn't really talk. Right? That's how we were. Okay. Right? We're going to believe that. Well, how do we know? Because I saw it on TV. I saw a movie one time. Well, no, they found bones. Okay. So, anyway, so we came out of the caves. We had these clubs. We did that for, I don't know, about 1,000 years or so, 500 years. And then we said, you know what? We got to start talking to each other. So they invented Sanskrit. They invented the Chinese language, which they both very complex. I mean, Sanskrit is the root of all Indo-European languages, and Chinese is, again, they're both grammatically and everything. And we did it. We came up with a few hieroglyphic ones like, I don't know, Sumerian and Egyptian. Yeah. And then we built these pyramids. They're still around. But prior to that, we were in caves. No, my point is this. I'm being facetious, but my point is this: our view is absurd. It's ridiculously absurd. That's not how it happened. I'm not telling you how it did happen, because if I did, you wouldn't believe me. But let's just say we can't know at this point, from our perspective, how we got to be here. But it certainly wasn't the way they're talking about. All right. So, by the way, I'm gonna have to show you. We're gonna do a webinar on this, man, because I can't just keep giving you my opinion. Remember, don't ever believe another doctor the rest of your life. The doctor tells you something, say, "Great, doc, that was wonderful. Can you please show me the research you read that helped you come to that conclusion?" Okay, and if he can't, she can't, then you say, I'd like to believe you, but I really need to know for myself, because I happen to be the guy sitting inside of this body, and I want to make sure I'm doing everything right. So it's called due diligence. So I'm going to show you research, and also give you an anatomy and physiology class as part of the thing, right? So anyway, back to Donna. It's growing again, and if they give you another chemo, it's not going to work. The chemo it doesn't work. You should know that by now. You are a walking testament to that. You've got to clean it out, and then we've got to use ways to eliminate it by metabolically instead of with toxins. We're not going to go to war against it. Your body is producing these things. The first question is, how do I stop making it? How do I stop doing it? If I can stop doing it, right? And that's what we do. So you got to get in touch with me, and we got to uh, maybe we've got to develop some online courses or something. I'm not sure how we got to do this because there's so many people that you can't all come. Yeah. No. So let's get down to some other questions here. Still have time? Yeah, we've got time. Yeah. Uh, oh, here's just a random question from Rose. Why can't ivermectin treat parasites if they immigrate to the pancreas? Why does it treat them when it's in the intestines but not in the pancreas? No. When I say you don't want to undertreat, in other words, if you don't give it enough to kill it, one of the reasons for failures in getting rid of parasites is undertreatment. So they'll migrate. And the reason you don't want to migrate, because whatever organ they migrate to, they could cause problems there as well. And so you don't want them. You don't want them in your brain. They don't want them to migrate to. It's not just that. Ivermectin, and you remember, you don't just take one. You take ivermectin, mebendazole, fenbendazole, diclosamide, praziquantel. You got to take something for the protozoa like tinidazole or nitazoxanide, and then you want to take antifungals. Yeah, you got to just bam on and then 1 week off, and on and off, on and off. Okay, and now here's the thing. The question is, in fact, somebody was asking me about. They said they had stage 4 breast CFCs, and they would read somewhere about a controversy about taking fenbendazole. Well, there were a couple reported cases where people they said they were taking fenbendazole and they came in with um, liver problem, liver failure, something like that. So now this we've said before, and the fenbendazole is not for humans; it's for dogs, and that mebendazole is for humans. Well, that's not true. There's lots of studies with fenbendazole in humans, and studies with mebendazole and animals. So it's not true. They're all part of a group called the benzimidazoles. There's albendazole. Um, I mean, there's a lot of them. They all have similar properties. Okay. There's stuff called tubulin in our cells that makes up what's called the cytoskeleton, and it helps things move around in there. It helps when the cell's dividing, mitosis. You know, it does. Yeah, it's kind of like the skeleton, um, but more than a skeleton. It's like muscles and moves and like that, right? So anyway, this paralyzes it. But so do the drugs. There's a lot of that's what chemos do. There are certain chemos, like all of the vinca alkaloids, which are like vinblastine, vincristine, vinrelabine, um, estromycin, and even colchicine, which was used for gout. That's what they do. They go after the tubules. Well, here, this fenbendazole does it too. Fenbendazole also upregulates p53. That is, remember, if you all remember p53, that is they call it the gatekeeper of the genome. It's the tumor suppressor gene, which gets downregulated to support glycolysis in almost all CFCs, and you can bring it back up. And the other thing that fenben and mebendazole do and all that is albendazole is that they downregulate NF kappa beta. What is that? The NF kappa beta is the central molecule of inflammation. And what are all these conditions we're talking about underlying? The underlying adaptive physiology is chronic inflammation, producing inflammatory cytokines, which do all the problems that we're talking about. When you feel like that's inflammatory cytokines all over your body. Yeah, it's terrible. So, but when they're doing what they're supposed to do, like eating up a CFC, that's fine. Okay. Um, anyway, and then you can, and so but anyway, so I wouldn't take just ivermectin but you got to take them all. They all do different things, but they all work at, one of the other things that Fenben does and mebendazole does that I really love is that they decrease the expression of the GLUT receptors, transporters on the CFC because they need glucose and decreases them. They have less. So it makes it harder for them to eat. And it blocks an enzyme called hexokinase 2. Why is that important? Because that's the enzyme that locks the glucose in. Once it gets into the where it needs to be, locks it in. So it's very, very important. So anyway, a couple other similar type things that you could do, not similar, but that you could do to enhance all that is the other one is, remember, mebendazole. Now fenbendazole, I haven't found any that it's able to do that, but mebendazole actually uh, kills the stem cells, CFC stem cells. But so what it does, by blocking the glucose uptake, the fenbendazole, by blocking the glucose uptake and knocking off its ability to get into the mitochondria, so lock it out, then you wind up, locking it into the mitochondria, so it has to go through normal oxidative phosphorylation, normal stuff. It has to go through that. So by doing that, you're forcing it into have the kind of metabolism which our normal cells have, and not ferment. Okay, and then you can take some other medicine as well that will augment that. So such as dichloroacetate, DCA. DCA blocks in another fashion, blocks glycolysis. So it has to go into the thing, right? And so does alpha lipoic acid, makes it go into the mitochondria, not there. And so does 3-bromopyruvate. So you can take these and really make it difficult for these CFCs to eat unless they eat using their mitochondria. And then you got to get a lot of heat, sustained heat for 2 to 4 hours, sustained heat at 104, 105 temperature Fahrenheit, at 40 centigrade. And you can't do it unless you have someone doing it for you. But that sustained heat stimulates heat shock proteins, and heat shock proteins, in turn, one of the jobs they have is to stimulate mitochondrial proliferation. So you grow back a lot of mitochondria. That's why fever works. One of the reasons. It's a big reason. You convert a cell that's not able to use mitochondria, it has to start fermenting, called CFC. Now there's tons of mitochondria around. Okay, and then you blocked it from fermenting. So there's ways of dealing with this. This is what you call metabolic medicine. It's a way, in other words, it's a way of understanding the biology of CFCs and working with them, and not in instead of like let's say you this horrible black scorpion on your wall. Well, you got a few options. One is you could quickly put something over it and try to catch it and throw it outside. Another one is you could throw a dart at it. Or you could do what they do in the hospitals. They come out with a big shotgun and they blow the whole wall out. But they get the scorpion. But you know what? Look, it got away. Here it comes back again. How's that? Anyway, the idea is to target it. And that's how we do it. We target things metabolically. All right, so let me see. We have time for any more questions. Facebook. Here's a real quick one from Mary Ling. It says, should I be worried about the microbiome during deworming with ivermectin? Pan is what? Pan. Praziquantel and pan. The fen. So anyway, with any of those, no. Well, here's the thing. Actually, these parasites actually keep our microbiome a mess. We'll never get them rebalanced with these guys in there, so we got to get rid of them. And so, yeah, but you still don't be worried about them. Be glad you're doing what you're doing because you're going to help them, um, get back to the right numbers they need. So you should also always take probiotics, daily. Yeah, you take probiotics. And then remember, the most important thing for any creature that you're going to feed, including these little um, microscopic friends of ours, is they've got to be fed what they normally eat. Because you cannot get a dog to eat horse food, and you cannot get a horse to eat dog food. But you can get a human to eat anything and shout it at the top of the mountain saying that this is the only thing people should eat. What is he talking about? Oh, I mean, for example, say live monkey brain, spiders, bull testicles, the lining of the stomach, tripe. Um, yeah, anything. Eyeballs out of the fish, yeah, anything. Face, the muscles in the face. Mm. Um, um, yeah, anything. Humans eat anything, including anything that the cockroach would eat, including the cockroach. Anyway, but the rest of the zoological spectrum is not the same. So what I'm saying is, with relationship to your microbiota, is that these guys are only the guys that you're going to have in there in the right proportions and all that are going to be based upon what you're feeding them. And what you're feeding them is what you're feeding yourself. Right? How do we know that? Is there any research? Yes, it's called prebiotics. They found out that prebiotics are actually more effective than probiotics. How could that be? Because you've got a little bit of everything inside of you. But if you want to have more of the right ones, you eat the food. Now they're fed, and they will naturally reassemble in a configuration and appropriate percentages that are in your best interest and theirs. So they like human food, real human food. That's what they like. This is from Nada. Do you have to continue doing ozone IV and vitamin C after PET scan shows NED, and for how long? So remember, everyone, let's not use their acronyms. Acronyms make you really lose the meaning of something. So do idioms, right? A stitch in time saves 9. Birds of a feather flock together. The early bird catches the worm. I mean, just say what you're saying. Anyway, what NED stands for, everybody, I'm sure is no evidence of disease, which means nothing. No evidence of disease. First of all, there's no disease anyway, but so they're saying that what they should call it is no evidence of CFCs. Right? They can't see them. So that's all that means. It's like someone's murdered over there in the room, and you can't find the murder weapon, and there was no one around, so there's no evidence. But there's still a dead body in the room there. So I mean, okay. But anyway, the point is this: they're right. There's no. In other words, what they did, whatever surgeries they did, whatever chemo they did, whatever radiotherapy they did, they shrunk down, got rid of, eliminated all the mature cells. But since chemo and radiation have no effect on the stem cells, they're still there. So there is no evidence that you can see, but they're microscopically there. And they will grow, because now that the primary tumor is gone for whatever reason, it used to produce cytokines that were inhibitory, that prevented angiogenesis in those little micro islands of seeds all over the place. Now that angiogenesis, blood vessel um, growth is not going to be inhibited, now these guys can all start growing, and that's what one of the ways in which it all happens. So, so how long should you continue? Well, if you can, is money for the rest of your life. I like to do whenever I'm in the clinic, if I have a clinic, I like to do at least one ozone and at least one vitamin C, two vitamin C's a week. Just because it's we live in with such a toxic world, it's always going to be good. Um, but if you've just recently had a scan because you've just had some major therapies, I would say you should at least for a year or two keep doing vitamin C a week, twice a week. I mean, keep and be taking it, sipping 7 to 7. You got to be taking it all the time. You got to be taking all the other stuff, the iodine, melatonin. You got to be doing that. Your thyroid's got to be right. You've got to be doing all these things, people. It's everything. The body is, and putting it to bed early and learning how to meditate and movement. It's all necessary. There's not one thing. There's no one thing. It's everything. Yeah, so here this is from Mooney. He says I have severe abdominal pain after meals. I had an organic acid test which showed aspergillus. Should I parasite cleanse antifungal? Well, yeah, I mean I don't know how accurate the test is, and yeah, I mean I don't see a reason not to do parasite cleanse with the antifungal because there's always going to be funguses and parasites. And remember, just like we were talking about before with the uh, with the what were fenbendazole, what were we saying? Anyway, um, so anyway, I don't really know what test an organic acid that says you have a lot of aspergillus. That could be true. So there are absolutely. I would do a parasite and an antifungal cleanse. Yes, because if you have that, maybe other things aren't being detected. I mean, not maybe, definitely are not being detected. And there's all sorts of, and they live together and they support each other, and you know, so I would do a whole class. Now, when we were talking earlier about the possibility of fenbendazole affecting the liver. Yes, it does. So does ivermectin. All of them get cleared by the liver. Okay, so the liver gets strained when you're taking all these medications so much, high doses, high frequency. It gets strained, and you see if you look at your liver enzymes in a lot of people, not everyone, they go up, and then when you stop, they go down. That's why That's one of the reasons we stop for a week. But during that time, you should be taking something for liver support. So you want to be taking silymarin, okay, 400 milligrams 3 times a day. You want to be taking alpha lipoic acid, 400 milligrams 3 times a day. You want to be taking B complex once a day. You want to be taking phosphatidylcholine. That's about a gram 3 times a day. You want to take selenium, 400 micrograms a day. Okay. Avoid alcohol and avoid so when you get that week off, if you do all those other drugs for 3 weeks and then you get the week off, let your liver repair. And you can also be taking those liver supports while you're doing the parasite cleanse. Now, who shouldn't do it? Parasite cleanse. You gotta you'll know if your liver's sick. I mean, if you've had hepatitis, you'll know it. If you are an alcoholic, you probably have an alcoholic liver. If you're um, extremely overweight, you've got a fatty acid liver. Okay, so those things and those kinds of people, what you want to do is do a blood test and find out what your liver enzymes are, right? And find out if they're I mean, if they're really high, you won't be able to do it. Maybe take one pill of each once a day. It depends how high they are. You have to know. So that's why you really want someone to get. But if you don't have anything wrong with your liver, then it doesn't matter. It's going to go up and come down, go up and come down, the enzymes. And remember, the liver is the most regenerative organ in the human body, right? You can cut out 2/3, give it to your sibling, and it'll grow back. It's like the lizard's tail. This is our lizard's tail. So, you know, it's very regenerative. But you got to keep your eye on the ball. The ball is you got to get rid of these parasites. All right. Okay. I think we have. Let's see. Question here on Instagram: can Rife help other conditions apart from CFCs? Absolutely. Parasite. Yeah. Anything. Microorganisms. Yeah. Um, good question here. This is can mRNA be transferred to partners during sex? You know, I would think so because I was reading a report where there was an autopsy on a male, and when they dissected his testicle, the little areas where there should be spermatozoa sperm, they were all spike protein. And I know that this whole thing has a predilection for reproductive tissues, so it's going to be in the reproductive organs and all that. So I would imagine that it can be. Um, I don't know I don't know who's done this actual studies, but and then the question is, how much of an inoculation does one need for it to actually get in and cause a problem with you? There might not be that much in um, the amount that's transferred during sex. There might not be. I don't know. I just don't know. Um, and there might be. Um, I don't think they're jumping out of your skin and to the guy standing next to you like that. But and mRNA is not by itself. It's going to be. It's they had to put what is it called? They had to put they modified one of the nucleotides. I think it was uridase. I forget which one it was, but anyway, they modified it so that the mRNA would not be destroyed because normally just naked mRNA in the blood would be destroyed. So this stuff is kept so it doesn't get destroyed. But I don't know how transmissible it is. I really don't. And I don't, there's a lot of unknowns because a lot of people that are looking into this, that are looking at the different manufacturers that, I mean, the injections, substances, some of them are saying, a lot of people are saying there's no mRNA, and there's no spike protein. There's only synthetic biology. So, and then other people are definitely finding it and finding spike protein, and we see that it's causing, myocarditis and stuff like that. So I think I have a feeling there's multiple things happening and we don't know what they are, and I'm not sure where they're coming from. Are they coming from these little guys that we can't see, or are they coming from some of these towers outside, or we just really don't know what all of it. It's just it's like it's overwhelming to know. But I understand your question, because that would be a dilemma, big dilemma. Anyway, so what a cop of my cop. Thank you, everybody, and let's do it again next week. Okay? Yeah. How do we do this? Huh? Okay. Mm.